Warning, Caffeinated Creeps is a creepy and messy podcast with two idiotic and immature hosts. This podcast contains themes of murder, conspiracies, the paranormal, and the supernatural that may be disturbing to some listeners. Viewer discretion is advised. Then you go, little intro music we have. I don't know how to.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Caffeinated Creeps podcast. We are your favorite caffeinated, heart-palpitating, smut-reading hosts. Mm-hmm. I am Mr. Butternubs, and with me is...
Denise.
All right. Hopefully you guys have your energy drinks ready, your coffee, your tea, whatever you like to prefer. Water, since it's really fucking hot. Mm-hmm. And let's get into today's cases.
Bro just stole my thunder. I was going to do a little intro, but whatever. Fuck me, I guess.
Oh, you want to... I can completely just...
No, it's fine. You already said it. Speak your truth, King. You already spoke your truth. Nothing for me to put in. You basically put in what I was going to put in. Wait, hold up. I can't find my notes. Give me a second. Okay, so there is one couple things that I'm going to say about the story. This story is going to be very disturbing. And before I get into the really disturbing parts, I will pause and give y'all the trigger warning before I get to it.
I mean, it's kind of also the reason why we have...
I know, but the thing is that, like, just in case, like, right before I say what I'm gonna say, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be like, okay, like, if you want to skip this little part.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then I'll say that, and then I'll add, like, a timestamp.
Yeah, later. Okay. Yeah. Alright, so, I'm gonna be talking about the attempted murder of Alison Botha. I think that's how you say her name, but I might completely butcher it. Because this is all based in South Africa, so the names are going to be very different sounding. Like, one of the perpetrators and is named very similarly to the person that rescued her. Uh-huh. So, I was listening to an Australian woman talk, and she said what sounds like the same name the whole time. And I was like, I don't know how to spell it, so I googled how to spell it. And their names literally sound so similar. So I might butcher it, but I will tell you, like, this is the perpetrator and this is the one that helped her.
Okay, if it gets to the point, I'm just say, like, the rescuer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, but, yeah. So, Alison Botha was born in Port Elizabeth, South Africa on September 22nd, 1967. Her parents, Brian and Claire, ended up splitting pretty early on, so Claire was mainly taking care of Alison and her brother Neil. Growing up, she attended the Collegiate High School for Girls, which is also located in Port Elizabeth, and after graduation, she did secretarial studies for a year before traveling around the world for 4 years. So, I think I had already written this, but Port Elizabeth, I guess you can say, is like South Africa's, maybe like Malibu or whatever, like our beach cities that we have around here. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole bunch of beaches. It's a popular, like, tourist destination. You know, like, there's nice restaurants, a lot of fun things to do. So it's kind of like a tourist city, I guess you can say, by the waters. So she eventually returned back to Port Elizabeth and began working as an insurance broker. And before I continue, if you look at a map, they actually changed the name of Port Elizabeth. So this city isn't named Port Elizabeth anymore. It was changed to Gqeberha in 2019. So, like, if, for example, if you wanted to know, you know, where it was at, if you Google it, it's not Port Elizabeth anymore. That's the name. Mm-hmm. So, I already said tourist destination. But on Sunday, the 18th of December, 1994, her life changed drastically. Alison was 27 at the time, and she spent the day at the beach with her friends and eventually decided to go back to her apartment to hang out. At around 1 a.m., Allison went to drop off a friend, and when she returned to her apartment, she realized that her usual parking spot was taken. So she decided to drive down the street, and it wasn't too far of a walking distance, but once she parked, a man with a knife forced his way into her car and forced her to move to the passenger seat. So he held a knife to her throat and said that if he wouldn't move over, he'd kill her. And this man would then take control over her car and told her that he didn't want to hurt her. He just needed to use her car for an hour. While he was driving, Allison and her kidnapper made small talk. And the reason as to why she was doing the small talk is to just kind of keep him distracted. You know, for her own survival, obviously, because she doesn't know his real intentions, whether it was to attack her or to not, you know. So she then eventually tells him that her name is Susan. She was lying, obviously. And that she has a boyfriend at home who is waiting for her. And if she's not home, he's going to start worrying and he's going to call police. And her kidnapper said that his name was Clinton. And so she told Clinton that she wouldn't report him to the police if he just let her out of the car. And he refused. He said he wasn't going to hurt her. And eventually takes her to a second location, where he then picked up a friend of his. So now these two men took Allison to a secluded location just outside of Port Elizabeth called Nordhook. And at the time, she didn't know that she was there. I don't know if it's just because she was distracted, she was trying not to freak out, you know, she wasn't paying attention to where they were going. But, so this is where I'm gonna get a little graphic. And just an FYI, there's strong violence and sexual assault. And I mean, very strong violence. The men told Allison that they were going to rape her and asked if she would resist, in which she says no. She was then forced to remove her clothes, and Clinton forced her to perform oral sex on him and enforced the same back on her. Then he raped her and then invited his accomplice to join, and he too would rape Allison with his hands around her throat. When they finished, they would then suffocate her until she fell unconscious, and then they disemboweled her. She was stabbed at least 30 times in her abdomen and her pubic area, although the amount of times could excess to 37. The men weren't finished, and they slashed her throat 17 times. When they finally finished with her, one of the men said, "Do you think she's dead?" And the other replied with, "Nobody could have survived that." One of the men who attacked Allison was particularly obsessed with mutilating her reproductive organs, which goes to show, like, his hatred for women, because it's intentional. There's a reason why he attacked that area. Miraculously, Allison somehow survived this attack, and when she regained consciousness, she had no idea where she was. She was naked, and she was lying in the sand in the middle of nowhere. And despite her injuries, she would write what she believed her attacker's name were in the sand, in case she didn't make it, and police would eventually find her remains. And the names she wrote were Franz and Theus. My bad, Theus.
I think I only heard, not of, like, the case itself, but just this part right here.
Yeah.
I've heard, like, this part.
Yeah. It's a very popular case. It's one of the worst cases ever in South Africa.
Yeah, because Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Underneath their names, she would also write, "I love you, Mom."
Oh, my God.
Yeah, she then laid there waiting to succumb to her wounds because they were so severe. But then she saw car headlights in the distance and decided to have hope and thought that maybe she'd be able to survive. So she begins to crawl to this road and realizes it's not going to work. So she tries to stand, and this is when she realized that her injuries were so severe. Another trigger warning for people that are not very good with gore. Her head actually falls back because she was nearly decapitated. Ugh, like I shivers down my spine. But
she survived all this?
She survived.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. So, literally hanging on by a thread, she has to hold her head as she walks to the road. And if holding her head wasn't crazy enough, she could feel her organs coming out of her abdomen. So she had a denim shirt, and she used her other hand to hold the shirt, which kept her organs inside. And another insane thing was that her windpipe had been crushed, so she couldn't have been able to breathe at all if they didn't decapitate her head. But because they slit her throat so many times, there was an opening for her to be able to breathe. Which, what are the odds?
Oh my god. She got... Is lucky the right word?
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Her vision was also coming in and out, and at some point, she was only able to see black, which made it difficult for her to get to the road. And when she finally got to the road, she collapsed and couldn't make it any farther and hoped somebody will pull over to help. And by this time, it was now 2 a.m., so it's literally like an hour. It's been an hour. Eventually, a car stops in front of her, and she's kind of second-guessing herself, and she's wondering if it was even a good idea. She's like, what if it was her kidnappers, like, coming back to check, to make sure she was really dead, and then they see her down the road, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, are they going to finish her off? Like, you know, what's going to happen? She can't really see. And the car, nobody gets out of the car. So she's kind of like, alright. So she lifts up her arm to, like, wave, like, asking for help. And that car just goes around her and leaves.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, I mean, if you're by yourself at 2 a.m, and I'm not saying, it's fucked up. At the end of the day, it is fucked up. But at the same time, I feel like playing devil's advocate, because this is another thing that the girl that I was listening to said, like, playing devil's advocate. If you're by yourself at 2 a.m, we don't know if it was a woman in the road, you know, by herself, too. Like, if it's 2 a.m, and if you see somebody on the floor all bloodied and everything, by yourself, like, are you really gonna pull over to help? Like, what if that person has a knife? What if it's just, you know, somebody trying to hurt you, too? Mm-hmm. So, at the end of the day, like, you don't really know that situation, and you also have to remember that it's also the 90s, too. No cell phones, no way of communication. I mean, now, I don't know if I would even get out of my car. I would probably call the cops first, mm-hmm, before getting out and checking, or, you know, have them on the line while I check to be safe. But they rarely had phones on them, you know, back then. So another car wasn't that far behind, and unlike the first, this car did pull over, and the person who got out of the car was a young man named Tien. And by this time, it was now 2:45 a.m. And she's still alive, mind you, which is insane. Tien got out of the car to help, but she couldn't communicate because of her injuries, because obviously she can't talk. Tien said that she looked terrified and that her eyes were bloodshot. Somebody that was in the car with Tien had a phone and called emergency services to come and help. And this is incredibly lucky for somebody to have a mobile phone, because it was 1994, so it wasn't common to carry one. And another lucky thing is that Tien was a veterinary student, so he knew basic medical understanding, enough so that he was able to help put Alison's thyroid back inside her body. And he took care of her emotionally and medically while awaiting help, and he was trying to keep her awake with small talk, even though she couldn't talk back. And they kind of had this system where she would squeeze his hand for yes once, and then she would squeeze it twice for no. And one thing that pisses me off the most is that it took 4 phone calls and an hour and 45 minutes for emergency services to come and help. And on the way to the hospital, the ambulance wasn't even in the rush. They were driving normally.
Oh, come on.
Tien was with her in the ambulance, and he's all like, can you please drive fucking faster? Like, she's literally, like, about to die. And she was on the brink of death, and they refused. I don't know why. Nobody knows why.
Do you think maybe they were looking at her at that point, or just like...
They probably thought that it's not worth
it.
Yeah, they're like, it's probably not worth it, you know? Well, she told them. She showed them. One of the doctors who saw Alison said that her injuries were the most severe he's ever seen in his 16 years of practice. He and his colleagues saw the extent of her injuries, realizing that she was disemboweled and that loops of her small intestines were sitting on top of her stomach, and her abdomen was completely contaminated with sand and charcoal. And after inspecting her injuries further, they realized that she would never likely be able to carry a child. The general surgeon who was called in to operate... Whoops, sorry. This thing messed up. The general surgeon who was called in to operate on Alison was a man named Dmitry Angelov. And he was shocked by her injuries as well and said that they gave a striking impression of cruelty. And one thing that this girl had mentioned too, that I can vouch for, is when you work in healthcare, you see a lot of nasty things and a lot of crazy things. And for a doctor to point it out, like, this is bad, then that's when you know, like, it's really bad. Just the extent of it. There aren't any photos, and I'm not expecting to, like, you know, find photos of her injuries or whatever. But, I mean, I've worked in healthcare, and I've seen a lot of really bad things. I've seen open wounds the size of softballs that you can fit your whole fist in. Like, I've dealt with stuff like that, and, you know, like, I can't even, like, fathom this. Like, just looking at that wound that was, like, the size of a softball that you can literally put your fist in. Like, I would get, like, the hairs on my arms and, like, on my neck, you know? And just, I can't even imagine the severity of her wounds. Her intestines had been ruptured and punctured in several places, and these stab wounds somehow missed all of Alison's vital organs.
Oh, okay, that's... Damn.
Yeah. They began operating as soon as they possibly could because they had to clean every single one of her organs, and they had to clean the sand and charcoal out of them. And the surgery lasted 3 hours, and Alison survived, which is actually really fast for surgery.
That's like this kind of severe.
But she had multiple surgeries, so I don't know if they're like, oh, this is like a small one that we can do for now.
And they kind of just timed it all together.
Yeah. So she also did not get any infections after her surgery, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. You ever heard that, like, when doctors, like, operate on, like, the small intestines and the large intestines, that when they take it out, they kind of just, like, shove them back into the body? Because, like, apparently, I don't know how it's possible.
Your organs put themselves back
Yeah, like, the body just knows exactly where it's supposed to, like, where it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And it just arranges the small and large intestine back to its original, like,
I wonder if you can feel your organs moving back in place. That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
You're just constantly aware. Your bones are wet.
Bones are wet. Alright. Alright. She also Get out of here. She also surprisingly remembered a lot of details from her attack and about her attackers, which helped police track them down. Not even 12 hours later, after waking up from the hospital, and beginning to talk to police, they were able to show her multiple photos of different potential Sorry, I cannot. I cannot speak. You ruined. I was on a roll, bro, and then you had to put in your
bones are wet. Yeah.
Yeah, your 2 cents, and then now I just, man. So 12 hours afterwards, they were able to give her photos of potential suspects, and she was able to identify 2 photos correctly. And she was able to say, well, not say because she couldn't talk, but she was able to, you know, explain that those were the 2 men that attacked her. Mm-hmm. She even wrote their names in the back, their first names that she remembered. And one of them was a man named Franz Detroit, and the other was Tien's Kruger. So that's why it's, my bad. See, this is where I fucked up. Tien's is the one that helped her, Tien. Mm-hmm. Theus is the perpetrator.
Okay.
So, but I had accidentally wrote Tien's here, and the majority of the thing, it says Tien's, so I'm sorry, Tien. I swear to God, that was on accident. Theus Kruger, right? Alison was able to write their names in the back of the photos, like I had just said, and they were already known to police and had previously been arrested for rape. Franz had actually been arrested for the rape of 2 women, and Theus was arrested for the rape of 1 woman, and they were both awaiting their trials. Somehow while awaiting, and this is another thing that pisses me off, oh my god. Somehow while awaiting their trials for rape, they were allowed to be out and not even pay bail. The police's excuse for why Franz was out was because there was no evidence of the first rape. And the second rape that he did, it was both of them. But the first rape that he did, it was Franz by himself. But the second one, both of them raped this lady. And that's not even including Alison. So Alison was the third. So, they didn't think that he would leave the country, and he had a stable job and a permanent address. So they thought that he'd have no intention of running away or committing another crime. Which, if they would have had him in jail, Allison's attack could have been totally avoided. Totally avoided. So, and the reason they didn't hold him for the second rape is because there was no investigating officer. Which sounds like bullshit to me. And another thing that upset me is that even though Alison identified them and wrote their names down on their photos for identification, they said that if she could verbally identify them, it would make the case against them stronger. And South Africa has weird practices when it comes to this, and I'm going to explain to it more, because it's like... Because, like, it makes sense, but at the same time it doesn't make sense as to why they would do this. Because she already pointed out, she's already, like, these two are the ones that did it. She even wrote down their names. Uh-huh. But they're like, no, you need to verbalize it. Like, the police need to hear you say it. Mind you, her windpipe was crushed.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
like, the doctor's gonna be like, hey, like, she's got a fucked up, like, throat, obviously. Like, she can't say it.
She even had a ventilation tube giving oxygen to her lungs because she couldn't even talk. So the doctors didn't want to remove the tubes so soon after surgery because they didn't want to damage her throat even more, but police kept insisting. So the doctors presented the idea to Alison, and she agreed to have the ventilation tubes removed. So she finally verbally said that Theus and that Franz raped her, and finally they were able to hurrah. On the 19th of December, they were arrested, which was literally, the next day? I don't remember. Was it the 17th when they attacked her? No, it was the 18th when they attacked her.
So it
was literally the day after, yeah.
Okay. Damn.
Yep.
I don't know, I thought this would be like a couple days. Mm-hmm. But no. Damn, so she forced herself to speak after all that. Holy damn.
Yeah, on the 19th of December they were arrested, and approximately... Oh shoot, hold up. My fat thumb completely swiped up on my notes. They were charged with kidnapping, rape, and the attempted murder of Alison. The media labeled them as the Noordhoek Ripper and Rapist. Police officers said that Franz was confused as to why they told him that he was being charged with attempted murder. He was all like, rape? Maybe. Murder? What you talking about? The officer then explained that Alison survived the attack. And he said that there was basically nothing he could hide from the police now because she would tell them everything that would happen. He then pulled a bloodstained ring from his pocket and handed it to police, saying that it was hers. They tested the blood on the ring, and they confirmed that it was her blood and that it belonged to Alison. He also confessed to raping a pregnant woman 2 weeks before attacking Alison, and he handed over the knife to police that he used for the attack. Now, I'm going to be talking a little bit of background for the two rapists. The first woman that Franz raped was a 20-year-old college student, and she was the one who waited a week before coming forward. And the reason that she waited a week before coming forward was because Franz had threatened to kill her if she did speak up. And the second woman was a 21-year-old pregnant woman who came forward. She came forward almost immediately, despite the fact that Franz also threatened to kill her as well. And even though they were awaiting trial for these rapes, they still let Franz out with no bail. In 1994, Franz was 26 during the attack against Alison, and was the son of a police officer, and he was raised in a Christian household. He was expelled from 8th grade for setting a dormitory on fire. which made his parents move to a nearby town called Adelaide. Around this time, he became involved in Satanism, which becomes a major talking point in the case. Because it's the 90s, satanic panic was so rampant.
Yeah, it was such a fucking
yes,
thing.
Oh my god. And then, like...
if anyone even wore the color black, fucking associated with...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh my god. Franz failed 9th grade twice, and his parents basically shipped him off to the army afterwards. He eventually left the army, and his parents helped him get a job at a mine. He would then marry a woman and have a daughter, although Franz would later abandon them both because his wife apparently didn't satisfy him sexually. He would then move to Port Elizabeth, and his parents helped him get another job as a driver for a chain of stationery shops, but he was eventually fired when his employer found out that he had stolen money, and he received a suspended sentence for 3 years. He would lose his job after he lost his job, Franz would open an illegal alcohol store where he met Theus, who was a customer. They first met 4 months before the rape took place, and Franz would marry another woman and have a son who lived with him at the time of the attack. Theus Kruger was only 19 when he and Franz raped Alison in 1994. His father abandoned him and his mother when she was pregnant with him, and eventually she remarried, but her marriage was also short. Eventually, another man came into the picture, and the family moved to Tsitsi Karma, which is on the southeastern coast of South Africa. There was some reports that the stepfather was abusive towards Theus, but there wasn't much information, so take it with a grain of salt. Theus did have a bit of a rough childhood. He was bullied for having a third nipple and was called Drew. Wait, hold up. This motherfucker deserves being bullied. Not when he was a child, but now as an adult. He was called Drew Teat, which translates to 3 tit.
Oh, no. That's so clever. Oh, my God.
That's so clever. Drew Teat. 3 tit.
How am I gonna name this episode?
3 tits.
3 tits in a dream.
3 tits in a dream. This would push Theus into a state of depression, which made him turn to drugs and alcohol. He left school in the 10th grade and joined the army, and there was also rumors floating around that he also had ties to Satanism, but it was mainly just a rumor. The morning after the assault on Alison, they just had breakfast like normal, and the knife that they used to disembowel her was literally sitting on the table when they were eating together. On December 29th, Franz and Theus appeared before the magistrate's court, and they were ordered to undergo 30 days of psychiatric evaluation, and they were held at Pollsmoor Prison. The two of them indicated that they were going to plead guilty, but the police continued their investigation and collected DNA from both men and analyzed the crime scene just in case they pleaded no guilty. So, this is where I get confused a lot with South African laws, because I'm assuming if they don't have enough evidence, but if you plead guilty, sure, go for it. You're guilty. That's how they're going to plead. But if you redact your statement and they don't have enough evidence, I don't think the case is strong enough to charge you. That's what I'm assuming. I don't think that's how it is for the U.S. at all. But this is how South Africa was in the 90s. Laws eventually do change, and I will mention legislation changing here for better and for worse. So, while all this was happening, Alison was still recovering and undergoing more surgeries. She was discharged from the hospital right before New Year's, but she had to go back to the hospital every single day to have her wounds treated. The worst of her injuries was on her abdomen, and she had to go in every day and had to have her wounds scraped until they bled, so more cells can grow over. She also underwent plastic surgery and until this day still lives with pain and ongoing medical complications due to her injuries. On March 23rd, 95, this is 1995 now, Franz and Theus had their pretrial hearing And they were going up against 8 charges. Multiple counts of abduction, indecent assault, and rape, and 1 charge of attempted murder and robbery. They pled guilty to all 8 charges. Franz, however, pled not guilty to the charge of his first rape. And nobody really knows why, but I think he just thought that he could kind of get away with it because there was really no evidence, because she did wait a week afterwards. And they said it's basically like, no evidence, whatever. On June 12th, 1995, the trial finally started, and it was the only thing the media was talking about. And it is still one of the most high-profile cases in the history of South Africa. To prepare Alison for the trial, she went to see a clinical psychologist who would assess her emotional state. And what was documented from the psychologist was that Alison did not express the typical feelings of a rape survivor, such as fear, anger, shame, helplessness, and disintegration. She was composed after the attack, which was due to her hardened personality style, and it was very hard to classify one's response to trauma. So, I guess you can see a lot, like, in media or whatever, or if you know any survivors personally, like, people have trauma responses, and they respond differently, and sometimes it's even in waves and stuff like that. Like, sometimes you're, like, in denial, or you're ashamed, or you're angry. And that's completely normal. But apparently, like, and it's, it's stuff that I felt, and it's stuff that I'm still feeling. But for her case, she felt none of that. Which I find really interesting. But apparently there's 3 classifications. I didn't write them down. But there's one that the psychologist did put her in. And that she's basically, like, in a state of shock. So that's why she's not as, I guess, emotional and, like, as expressive. I guess, which is probably good for her. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure with therapy, she probably, like, I don't think she's ever gonna get over it. I don't know, You kind of expect somebody to get over that. But, maybe she'd be able to cope more with what happened. And eventually, like, she does become a motivational speaker, sharing her story. And she even writes a book, and she has a movie out about what happened to her. So, this is another thing that annoys me about South Africa. So back then, in South Africa, they actually had a law where the victim would have to put their hand on the perpetrator's shoulder and get a photo to kind of prove that the victim was pointing at the perpetrator. Which I guess makes sense, but at the same time, it's completely unnecessary.
That's theatrical.
Yeah, and I feel like it's completely unnecessary, especially because she already saw the photos.
Yeah.
She wrote the names down, and she even said it out loud. Like, what more proof do you have to get?
Yeah.
So what they ended up having her do instead was pointing them out behind a one-way glass. Which is a new practice that they continue to do now to this day. So, Henry Lerm, the attorney for Franz and Theus, said that he could no longer represent them, citing ethical reasons. Which, I don't blame him. Mm-hmm. And the trial, I don't know how long the trial lasted, but on the first day after the pre-trial, it was the first witness, and it was her story. And it was the student who Franz raped alone, and she got 4 charges, and he got 4 charges. And 1 count of indecent assault and 1 count of abduction would be tallied on his sentence. So basically, Franz and Theus are getting 8 charges because of what they did to this pregnant woman and to Alison. Uh-huh. But Franz raped this woman, like, by himself. So those 4 charges that he's getting from her, like, it's going to be added to Franz's sentence. I don't know if that makes sense now. Yeah. Now that I explained it a little bit better.
They're just stacking it on top of each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, on the second day, the witness who testified was the pregnant woman Franz and Theus raped. And on the third day of the trial, it was Alison's time to testify. There was also a testimony of Tiens, the young man who pulled over to help her and stayed with her. He eventually changed his major to study and become a doctor for humans. A fourth woman also gave testimony, and she wasn't attacked, but she was almost a victim the night before Allison's attack. She said that she noticed that the two men noticed her while she was trying to find parking in the street, and they followed her. And she eventually was able to get into her apartment safely. And Franz knocked on her door and tried to force his way in, but she had locked the door and they couldn't get in, so they just kind of gave up and left. Like, it was so random. Theus didn't testify at all, and he basically just kind of wanted to get the trial over with. Like, he already pleaded guilty. He did wrong. Mm-hmm. But Franz did testify, and he admitted to being a Satanist and that a demon called Incubus told him to rape all the women and try to murder Allison. And it seemed as if he was trying to take the blame off of himself to justify his actions and blame the devil, which is basically why this became this whole media frenzy. He even asked for a pastor to be brought in so that he can be exorcised. And they agreed. And according to an officer, he called out to demons named Incubus and Succubus. And according to the officer, he kept getting the demons confused and was putting on a whole act. And the media was eating it up, bro.
Yeah.
His testimony also made it seem like Theus wasn't as involved. He said that Theus was shocked when Franz strangled Allison, and said that when he originally got into the car, Theus thought that she was a friend of Alice. How do I say it? Basically, like, when Theus got into the car, like, he literally thought that Allison was a friend of Franz.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that they were buddies.
Yeah. So, what's it called? So he thought that they were friends, and that he literally did not know that they were gonna try to rape and murder this chick. So he also gave detailed accounts of all the rapes he committed and gave a half-assed apology. In the end, both men were found guilty on all 8, and Franz was also found guilty on those 4 extra charges. On the 7th of August, 1995, they were sentenced to life in prison. Franz was given 3 life sentences, and Theus was sentenced to 1 life sentence and 25 years. And this was 2 months after the death penalty was abolished, so they couldn't even get the death penalty for what they did. So Franz is being held in Gru VL prison, and Theus is being held in the Pretoria Central Prison. In June 2011, legislation came into effect where anybody who had been sentenced to a lifelong sentence and has already served 13 years and 4 months, by this point would be eligible for parole, which obviously included Franz and Theus. But it was heavily opposed by Alice. Well, you know what I mean, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It was heavily opposed by Allison and the general public, and there was even a petition for them to not be granted parole, and they haven't been granted parole yet to this day. Franz's father even ended up committing suicide because he couldn't deal with the shame. Allison is now a successful motivational speaker, and she released a book and documentary, and she received multiple awards for speaking out and the work she's done helping women and other survivors. In 1997, she got married to a man named Tieni. I think that's his name. They're now divorced and everything, but, she was happily married to this guy. And she ended up giving birth to her first child named Daniel in 2003.
She was able to have a kid?
Yep. Not just 1, but 2.
Oh my God.
She gave birth to another son in 2006 named Matthew. Tien, the man who helped her, the guy that saved her, was actually the assisting doctor for the birth of her second child.
Oh my God.
And that's it.
That's sweet.
Yep.
Which makes my story gonna seem very uncomfortable. Just because I'll get to it when I get to it. I had trouble getting a story.
Oh, trust me, me too.
I was going back and forth. I was looking at demonic possessions, and then I was looking at cryptids. I found a funny one that I should have picked, because now looking back on it, the one that I picked out, it's just not appropriate for the story that you just told.
What is it?
And then I was looking at space stories, which I'm probably still gonna do because I think that's interesting.
Okay, Okarune, I see you.
Fuck you.
What? You said space stories.
Yeah, like creepy space stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a compliment.
So, okay. This one is a urban legend / cryptid. Over in Southeast Asia, primarily in the Philippines, called the, I'm gonna butcher it. I won't lie to you. The Manananggal.
Can I read it?
Yeah, that is exactly how it's spelled. The Manananggal. There you go.
Yeah, the Manananggal.
Manananggal.
I had to squint.
I had to just like really look at it. So. Okay, when I get to the part, you'll see why it's just
inappropriate.
Yeah. So, one of the Philippines' most legendary urban legends / cryptids that has a rich history with the people of the Philippines, passed down from generation to generation. The Manananggal is a female cryptid whose name means to remove or to separate. It's said that the first encounter of the Manananggal, I'm gonna keep butchering it, was before colonial times. It became associated with the fear of the unknown, like with many other mythical creatures that hide in the dark forests or roam remote villages. The earliest written accounts date back to the Spanish missionary texts from 1582. However, it's believed that the Manananggal story was already told orally prior to the arrival of the Spaniards.
Off topic, but I just looked down and I just see that your dogs are out.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just thought I don't think I've ever seen your bare feet.
I
don't think I've ever seen your bare feet, bro.
They're usually, I usually have them out.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never put it. I don't know. I'm just like looking down, like trying to listen to what you're saying.
You sick pervert.
And then I just see. What do you mean? What do you mean pervert? I don't like feet. I just realized that your dogs were out.
I don't like feet. Hey, I just realized you know that audio's like, I'm just focusing so hard on your titties right now.
Yes. Oh gosh.
But
no, I swear, no.
I'm insecure.
Michael, I'm not like that. Stop.
Damn, I didn't know you were like that. That's crazy.
No, I'm not like that. I swear I'm not into feet. I shame people that are into feet. Stop. Don't lump me in with those chums.
Oh my god.
Bro, but his dogs do be out.
Yeah, they're out and about. They're breathing.
Mm-hmm. I respect that. I don't know. I just was because I feel like you always wear socks, or I don't know. I've never paid attention to your feet until I just saw them right now.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shut up. Like, I'm literally crying because I don't know how to react. What the fuck?
You disgusting pervert. Oh my god.
I saw that.
Yeah, oh my god, that's good.
Continue.
Alright, so this cryptid is mostly depicted during the day as a beautiful woman, roaming freely and interacting with people. Apparently, even during the day, there are some stories that this cryptid could have like marriages and kids, like whole ass lives, like whole families, right?
Oh, does she wear white?
No.
Oh, interesting. The first not woman in white.
Yeah. This beautiful woman turns into a monstrous being with large bat-like wings with the ability to tear itself apart in half.
My type.
So it's...
My type of woman.
This is the part that just... It's unfortunate. So, every depiction, when it tears itself apart, it's its upper body, right? So from the torso up, and then it leaves its legs behind. I'm gonna say not every, but most artist rendition show the intestines just hanging out like freely, and it's just there.
This is such a weird coincidence, honestly.
It is, and it gets weirder when I'm about to go into it.
Okay.
It's just very unfortunate. So it leaves its legs behind in a vulnerable state as it remains unguarded. It also gains a long and piercing tongue for its favorite meal, which is primarily organs, but more specifically, pregnant women, and it consumes the fetus, leaving the pregnant women to bleed out in a state of shock and terror.
Damn.
Yes.
You're a sick person, Michael.
Says the person looking at my feet. Now I'm I don't know what's worse. A monstrous cryptid or you looking at my feet?
Wow. Wow.
Alright, so the traditional way to ward off the Manananggal is to place garlic, salt, sometimes vinegar, and other items that have mythical properties.
Fuck, I'm getting hungry now.
I just said salt and garlic and vinegar. It's listed ingredients.
What are you gonna tell me now? Like, pull out a piece of bread? She likes to pull out a piece of bread and everything. Bring a little toaster.
She pulled out salt, pepper, and thyme, and I just fucking lost it. That's the kind of foreplay I like.
I told you she's my type. Oh god. This is... Oh my god.
Oh,
I'm going to hell.
So, mythical properties like holy water throughout the homes and the windows. It also can't stand the sun and would turn to ash if it became in contact with the sun. Basically...
But wait, that's...
when... It's almost like a vampire. In a way. Like...
Just keeps getting better and better.
Salt, garlic, sun, holy symbols and emblems ward off the spirit. Yes.
I read a smut similar to this.
You pervert. This whole episode is just...
Hold up. But it was with Priest Gojo.
Priest Gojo?
Gojo is a priest in a little village.
Him, a holy man?
Bro, yes. It's insane. Him, a holy man, but he's a vampire by night, apparently. It was interesting. The more you're telling me about this, the more I'm just thinking about Priest Gojo. I need to go back to my likes and reread it, because it was really good.
I remember when we first... Not met, but the first time we talked about JJK, you were just like, Gojo is disgusting. I would never find myself infatuated with that man, and I look at you dressing up as Gojo on fucking murder mysteries and other fucking maps. And now you
for the hoes.
And now yeah, sure, for the hoes.
For the hoes.
Sure. And now you fucking reading smut about this man.
Like, no, which is insane, because every time I would see like a fic with like Gojo in it, I just swipe it. How many good fics have I just missed out on because I just hated Gojo?
I know, look at you.
Now look at me.
Eyes open.
I'm just a whore.
I'm just a whore. If he just has basic ingredients too, I'm over it.
Vampire Gojo. Yummy.
It's so weird.
I gotta send that fic to Daisy.
I'm sure she'll appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so like I mentioned previously before about the lower body, the Manananggal will actively hide its lower body in dark forests, or even, if I remember the information right, banana plantations.
Oh?
Because the plant's body sometimes resembles legs. Like, it just looks like legs.
Mm-hmm.
So, if people pass by it, they're just going to go, oh, that's a fucking plant.
Mm-hmm.
While its upper body is away, it is said that you can pour salt, garlic, ashes, or even vinegar on the lower body. The Manananggal won't be able to fuse back together, leaving it to die, as sunrise would soon follow to kill it.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess...
interesting ingredients, too. Like, how do they know that? Did they have to deal with that before, or what?
There are some accounts. I got one account here. I should have looked for more. But it's a little hard because it was just like the same information just regurgitated back to me. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, fine. So this following is from a man in the Philippines who talks about an aswang. Aswang is basically just like a general term used for like spirits, demons, ghouls, and stuff like that over in the Southeastern Asian countries. Alright, so, and a quote from his experience. I had a real experience of seeing this monster. I was a young boy at the time, and our house was in a small town, like a little small borough, with only a few neighbors and surrounding with trees. The wife of our neighbor was pregnant at the time, and their house was a small hut with windows that can't be closed, which simply means you can see the stars in their house during the nighttime. It was a very noisy. It was a very noisy night that I could not sleep. Our neighbor's dogs keep howling in the backyard, so I tried to check it. Jesus Christ! So I tried to check it. I sadly opened our window, good enough for my eyes to see everything outside. I am fascinated because the moon was so bright and there was no dogs in our backyard. So I look at our neighbor's house, and there I saw the howling dogs. But when I looked at the window, I saw something dark floating. It was like a person floating horizontally, facing our neighbor's open window. I was very scared because it's so hard to describe the dark floating thing. Even the surroundings were clear. I closed the window and went straight to my bed, covering myself with my pillow, just to sleep again. On the next day, I talked to my friend about what happened last night. I asked him if there was something unusual that happened in their house. He said him and his siblings are guarding their mother all the time, and they are aware of the possible attacks of the Aswang. He told me he had stepped something like a hairy tail, and then he had thrown garlic onto it, and then it suddenly disappeared. That's his account, at least.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Apparently, it's very. It becomes almost like a. Would you consider like Bloody Mary like a? What's the word I'm looking for?
A legend, like an urban legend.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it became more cryptid, and then it became more urban legend.
Mm-hmm.
So it became to a point where...
Like La Llorona. I mean,
yeah.
She counts as a cryptid, but she's a legend.
Yeah,
too.
so basically, it's so uncommon to see pregnant women out and about, like, after dark. Like, they just always stay inside to an extent. And it's spun, like, hundreds of movies. It's appeared in, like, thousands of TV shows. But it's just like a part of their culture at this point. Like, it's just really rich in their history.
Yeah, just like
mm-hmm. That's all I got.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see why that may seem distasteful.
Yeah, so as you kept describing the story, I'm like, oh, this is not.
Yeah, it was just a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, we're able to separate them.
Mm-hmm.
We had our sillies, we have our funnies.
Mm-hmm.
This lady's still alive too. She's so cool.
It's fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
See, now I feel like now I'm gonna wear socks every time now you come by.
My God, shut up. And then her kids are like the same, like maybe like.
Well, you said there were
2 to 4 years
03,
younger than me.
06?
Yeah, they're 2 to 4 years younger than me. Also, I love the live stream I watched last night.
Oh.
It was fun. I like it. I liked it a lot.
Which part?
You're not beating the allegations.
What allegations? I don't know what you're talking about.
Allegations.
No idea what you're talking about.
I wish I could have clipped what you said.
No idea what you're talking about.
Anyways, Michael wanted to go see Brokeback Mountain with his best friend. But then his best friend was all like, no, because what if they think we're gay? Which is funny because his best friend is queer. But he's the one that was the most worried.
like I want to go see it with him. And he's like, no, I don't want to. What the fuck? Like, alright.
Speaking about Brokeback, I'm actually listening to this podcast called Blowback. And it's not what you think it is. It's a good podcast that Alison actually was posting on her story.
Shout out to Alison.
Shout out to Alice. And, she posted it on her story about how she likes it a lot. And that it's really, like, opening up her eyes a lot to understand. Because what the podcast is about is it's talking about Bush. It's talking about, like, real history and, like, politics. About Bush and Obama and Trump politics now. And what had happened in with the Iraqi war in 2003. And then, like, 9/11. like what caused all these things to happen, and then like Sudan, him coming to power, and then all of our presidents and the administrations, the Republicans, the Democrats, the leftists, or whatever, which is insane because if I'm correct, I think it was like 72 was all like, oh no, we shouldn't have like gone to war with Iraq or whatever. But then at the time, 92, if I'm correct, had agreed, of leftists at least, which is like, and I'm not gonna say that the leftists are like the good guys or whatever, because both sides, both parties have their ups and downs, you know. But you know, a lot of people would assume, oh, the left is good because, you know, they support gay marriage, they, you know, this and that, whatever. Which is like, and I was just like, huh, that's like very interesting. And then you have to, like, you just have to remember, I was like, there's that both parties are just shitty, you know. I mean, I guess you can say I like my party, at least on paper, is Democrat, but I wouldn't call myself a Democrat. I wouldn't proudly say I'm a Democrat. But I would proudly reject that I'm a Republican, you know, like. But I know that not all Republicans are bad, you know. Like I have coworkers and I have friends that are Republicans, but they didn't vote for Trump. You know, like I feel like your party doesn't define who you are exactly. It really depends. But it's a very interesting podcast so far. I think I'm barely done with episode 1, and it's funny too. They add a little bit of comedy to it too. And it's like Bush, he's all like, oh, but my daddy's not president anymore, like, I'm taking over now. Like, it's silly. Like, they have voice actors in it, too. Like, pretending to be, like, the president in, like, Sudan and everything. But it really is eye-opening just how shitty the U.S. really is. Oh, my God, dude. So many fucking war crimes. I don't know.
I mean...
It makes me just feel more disappointed to be American in a sense.
The dream is still there, but it just needs the current landscape of everything else just needs to change first for it to be.
And all this for oil. It's all about money, dude. And money really does like rule the world. It's just, I can send you the link to the podcast if you want to listen to it. But oh my God, like I'm just trying to wrap my head around it because it's just. It's talking about the beginning, and, like, I don't know the names of all these people, but I'm pretty sure if I listen to them, like, I'll recognize it, you know? Because it's just so much information that's just, like, packed into it. And how, like, Iraq was, like, very, like, progressive in its time and stuff. They had, like, the best healthcare and the best education in the world and everything. It was pretty high up. And then, like, because of the U.S.'s interference... Like, now these people are, like, dirt poor. But the country's booming with money, but it's because of the big oil companies from the U.S. are taking over. And they were doing, you know, bad stuff. And then they were all like, you know what? Like, it's our oil. You know, like, it belongs to us. So they did their own thing, and then the U.S. was upset about it. And then the party that was all like, we're going to do our own thing, wasn't helping the people like they said they were going to. And was just helping the rich people. So the CIA was all like, hey, I got you. And, like, did some crazy shit. Yes. And then now we have what we have today. And it's just weird. It's disappointing, really. Because I knew the government sucked. You know what I mean? Like, they did test subjects on their own people. You know? And it's something that I have been wanting to cover, too, like, on true crime as well. Where they ended up giving, what's it called? Like shots of, I think, I genuinely forgot what it was.
Like the MK Ultra files kind of thing?
That too, but I remember they gave, like, a whole bunch of black people a disease. I forgot, I'm pretty sure it was, like, an STD. Just to see what would happen. And the majority of them died. Because of that, you know? It's insane. I don't know. It just makes me really disappointed, man. Fuck, the U.S. fucking sucks. The U.S., the U.K., Germany, man.
Anyway, guys, welcome to our political podcast where we
Sorry for going on a tangent. It's a really good podcast called Blowback. If you want to listen to it, I recommend it. And I mean, and they don't say what their political affiliation is, because they bag Democrats, they bag Republicans and everything. They just speak the facts, and it's two white guys, and they admittedly say, like, we're just two straight white men. And so we could be saying as much truth as we believe that we're saying, but they do have a friend that grew up at that time, and they do bring him on the podcast and have him recount his tellings, or the tellings of his family that, that had happened.
Uh-huh.
Which is interesting because the lens between a straight white man that has never been in war is completely different than, an Iraqi man that grew up in war. So it's very telling, obviously. They're, because history always changes. Like, the history that we've been told is completely different than the history that's in Japan, that's in Germany, and all that. But yeah, that's it. That's my little tangent. I really recommend the podcast. I'm sorry, it's so good. It gives you a headache, but in a good way. Kind of.
I don't think I want a headache. In general.
Also, you don't have to put this on the podcast, but how was Dungeons and Daddies? You finished it.
It was good. It was really good. It made me excited for
Season 2?
Well, not only season 2, but like for us to play too.
Yeah.
I'm just confused on how season 2's gonna go, because they're gonna be the kids,
the
grandkids. I'm like, how the fuck is that gonna work? Because the Doodler was released, and then like it wasn't the Doodler supposed to like destroy everything.
Mhm.
So I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Right now I'm on the fetch quest, so that's what I'm...
Fetch quest is pretty good too.
Yeah, listening to that. I'm having a fucking...
Henry being a DM, it's pretty fun.
Huh?
Henry being the DM.
Oh, yeah.
My bad, not Henry. Will Campos.
Yeah, every time they kept fucking introducing themselves, like, as their own characters. Every time they kept, like, losing themselves. I like that a lot.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's really... I like season 2. It's good. You better not catch up to me. I'm gonna be pissed if you surpass me.
I mean, you realize that, like... I'm listening to, like, maybe 2 episodes a day. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, you probably will pass me then.
Yeah.
I probably listen to an episode, like, every 2 days.
Oh, yeah. I'll fucking surpass you.
And then when it's my days off, I don't listen to it.
Oh, yeah, it's the same thing. I usually just, like, on my way to work or when I get off of work. And usually when I get off of work, it's like 2 hours of traffic. So I can squeeze in, like, two episodes.
When you finish episode 1, you have to text me your thoughts.
For season 2?
Yeah. I must know. I must know your thoughts on the subject. Shit gets crazy, bro. Alright, I should probably leave now. I gotta go to bed. AKA, I'm gonna go play Fortnite until like 11.
Oh my god. Go to sleep.
No.
Thanks everybody for stopping by.
Bye.
Bye. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, bye. Bye. Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. You can follow our socials, Caffeinated Creeps Podcast on Instagram, obviously on Spotify. If you don't have Spotify, YouTube. Mm-hmm. We post it on YouTube too, same name. Mm-hmm. I'm not even gonna post our Twitter because we don't even use it.
It's there if you want to look for it.
It's there.
It's as dead as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever posted a single post on there.
We're just gonna put, hey. That's like the first fucking.
Hey.
Yeah, just hey.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
Yeah. And then your handle, which is just Mr. Butternubs.
Yeah, you can find me Mr. Butternubs on YouTube. You can find me, if you want to, on TikTok. The strongest ASMR enjoyer. I gotta. What are you laughing at? Fuck you.
It's a funny name.
It is a funny name. You can, if you want delicious coffee and you want to drink different types of coffee that have beautiful women on it, or if you're just interested in cosplaying or you're interested in cars, you can visit itasha.com/caffeinatedcreeps podcast.
coffee's bomb.
It is good. I tried the caramel one.
I want to try the berries and cream.
Dude, it's. I haven't tried that one yet because I think that one needs to be with both of us. Because it's like only like 4 cup serving.
Oh shit.
Yeah. But it's really good coffee.
Let's try it next week.
I highly recommend it. So again, that's etasha.com/caffeinated creeps podcast, or you can just go to etasha.com and then use code caffeinated creeps podcast when you check out 4 or 5% off your order. Really means a lot to us, and we hope to see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah. Bye. Oh wait, shoot! I should probably put my handle. My bad. It's Caffeinated Ray on Instagram, caffeinated_Ray on Instagram and on TikTok. Though I'm barely posting on TikTok, mainly just stupid gaming clips with my friends. I keep getting peer pressured into starting to stream, so I might start streaming.
Do it.
I don't know what to stream though. It sounds
like you know what to stream.
Huh?
Sounds like you already know what to stream.
What do you mean?
You got Phasmophobia, Fortnite. You can try Resident Evil, the remakes.
Oh, I want to. I want to. It's on Steam, right?
Yes, they are.
I'm just broke. So
there should be a sale right now.
So my windshield broke 2 days before my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. Fuck, man. $220. $222 every 2 fucking weeks. On top of that, I have to pay my insurance and my car and rent and my phone bill. Oh my god, it's so expensive. But I was able to get a new window.
Just in time.
Yeah, for my birthday, I went to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And then the week after, on last Saturday, my friends threw me a surprise party, a Fortnite-themed surprise party with a Midas cake.
So a little Fortnite-themed birthday party. We almost lost you in a bucket of ranch.
Yes. Yeah. It was good.
That's so good.
I really wish that the chug jug or the big pot was spiked. Ugh, I want alcohol.
We really debated on it.
I need alcohol.
We knew you were gonna be here by like 3 or 4, so we're like maybe we can give her like a little bit.
Yeah.
But then we're like, but then she's gonna drive back home or go to work straight after, and we're just like, I don't know. We were debating on it.
Yeah.
But we just decided not to.
Yeah. Probably feels better, honestly. But I want to try it spiked so bad. But yeah, everybody be safe out there. Drink water. Stuff like that.
And coffee.
And coffee too.
Or tea. Listen.
I love tea.
Yeah.
Tea's bus.
There's like only a handful of teas I can really stand.
Are you gonna go back to sleep?
Probably not.
You wanna play Fortnite when I get home?
I want you to sleep when you get home.
Okay, but I want to sleep at 10:30. All right, I'll go to sleep at 10:30. I have a little system.
Okay.
I do some tomfoolery until 10:30 to 11.
10:30, you get like a solid hour.
That's fine. I'll be playing for a solid hour.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Goodbye. I want to play Fortnite. I love Fortnite. All right. Which is funny because I was like, why did you throw a Fortnite-themed party? I'm not even obsessed with it. No. Proceeds to explain lore of Fortnite. Not only that, the rest of the party.
You were like, I'm not really like that much into Fortnite. I just like Fortnite. And then you were fucking talking about like the lore about it for like 40 minutes.
You know what? Alright, so Battle Royale is fun. I just love the creative maps because people be so creative, okay?
Everyone's so creative.
Everybody's so creative. Yeah. Bro, sometimes it be therapy. Sometimes, like, all my friends be asking to, like, invite me, and I'll be like, nope, sorry. It's solo time. And I just put my music on blast, and I just play by myself. Pause.
Alright, I'm ending it on that note. Bye, everybody.